In the ancient days in Africa, some people believed in warring and conquest. An ancient kingdom of Umuhu Ezechi exists. This village was famed across the lands for its warriors' bravery and conquest. Among the clans of Umuhu Ezechi, no name was spoken with more awe and trepidation than that of Ukadike of Achi. Ukadike was a tall, light-skinned warrior with a fierce reputation, his presence alone striking fear into the hearts of men. His traditional war attire, a leopard skin draped over his broad shoulder and a cap adorned with the same fearsome pelt, was a symbol of his might and mastery of the battlefield. Yet, it was not only his appearance that made Ukadike formidable. He possessed a talisman, a powerful charm, said to render him invincible against the blade of any machete. One fateful morning, as the sun broke through the dense forest canopy, Ukadike rose with a sinister plan. He adorned himself with his charms and prepared for a challenge that would echo through the ages. With a voice that boomed like thunder, he roared into the air, "Hey! Hey! Who among you men of Umuhu Ezechi dares to challenge me? If you believe in your charms, if you have the guts, come forth. Let us test our valor in a butcher's competition. Let us see whose machete can cleave through the arm of the other. The one who fails shall forfeit 100 cowries, 10 tubers of yam, and a he-goat, and the victor shall be crowned the DIKE OGU." His words echoed across the 6 clans of Umuhu Ezechi, Achi, Umuokwe, Amazo, Amaibia, Amugu, and Amabo. The village trembled with fear, for no one had the courage to face Ukadike. 3 days passed, and on the 3rd day, the day of the Afo market, not a single warrior had stepped forward. It seemed that Ukadike's dominance would go unchallenged. But fate had other plans. As Ukadike approached the boundaries of the Umuokwe clan, a whisper spread through the village like wildfire. "Ekwedike has risen," they said. "Ekwedike has answered the call." Ekwedike was a man of fearsome reputation in his own right. A towering figure, dark as the night, with eyes that burned like embers, Ekwedike was known for his unyielding spirit and unmatched strength. The villagers of Umuokwe gathered in awe as Ekwedike stepped forward to confront the boastful Ukadike. With the villagers surrounding them, the 2 warriors stood face to face, sizing each other up. The tension was palpable, and the air was thick with anticipation. The village elders, wise and grey with age, stepped forward to resolve that the battle would take place on the next Eke market day in Umuokwe. Both men were sent back to their homes to prepare, to fortify their charms and sharpen their blades. The days leading up to the battle were filled with a mix of fear and excitement. The entire village was abuzz with speculation who would prevail. Would Ukadike's talisman hold true, or would Ekwedike prove to be his match? The stories of their impending clash reached even the farthest corners of Umuhu Ezechi, drawing villagers from all 6 clans to witness the spectacle. Finally, the Eke market day arrived. The village square of Umuokwe was filled with people, elders, women, children, and warriors alike, all eager to witness the battle. The sun was high in the sky, casting long shadows across the ground as Ukadike and Ekwedike stepped into the square, their machetes gleaming in the sunlight. Ukadike's voice boomed once more, "Ekwedike, today we shall see who is truly the DIKE OGU. Hope you prepared yourself very well." Ekwedike, calm and composed, simply nodded. "Let us fight with honor, Uka. But remember, no man is invincible." The items to be won were brought out by those escorting the both warriors and cross-checked by the elders. With a signal from the elders, the battle began. Ekwe moved first, his machete slicing through the air with a sound that sent shivers down the spines of the onlookers. He brought the blade down on Uka's arm with all his might. The impact was fierce, but to the shock of the crowd, the blade left only a deep impression on Ukadike's skin, without penetrating it. A gasp went through the crowd. Ukadike grinned, his confidence swelling. He threw his machete into the air, catching it with a flourish, and with a roar, he struck Ekwedike on the arm. The force was so great that Ekwedike was knocked to the ground. But when he rose, the crowd saw that his skin, too, was unscathed. The crowd erupted in disbelief. Both warriors had struck with all their might, yet neither had drawn blood. The 2 men stood panting, their eyes locked in a fierce stare. The realization dawned on them both, they were equals. Ukadike, still catching his breath, extended his hand to Ekwedike. "You are a man of great valor, Ekwedike. Today, we have shown the strength of Umuhu Ezechi." Ekwedike accepted the gesture, gripping Ukadike's hand firmly. "And you, Ukadike, have proven that there is no greater strength than unity among brothers." With that, the elder stepped forward and declared, "No victor, no vanquished. The title of DIKE OGU shall remain unclaimed, for the true strength of Umuhu Ezechi lies in its unity." The village erupted in cheers, the sound of victory resonating through the air. The warriors, now brothers in arms, were celebrated as heroes. The cowries used as money then were used to buy ingredients to prepare the yams, and the he-goats were slaughtered for all to enjoy. On the day of the grand feast, the 6 clans of Umuhu Ezechi gathered at Amazu, the center of the village, to celebrate peace and togetherness. Cultural dances filled the air, the DIKE OGU, the war dance, Egugure, Ovion, and Okonko. The sound of drums, flutes, and chants filled the night as the villagers sang songs of unity and strength. From that day forth, it was resolved that no son of Umuhu Ezechi would ever raise a hand against his brother. The axiom, Umuhu Bunge, Umuhu is one, was born. A reminder of the power of unity and the dangers of pride and arrogance. As the villagers returned to their homes, the moral of the tale was clear: do not test your strength against your own people, for in unity lies the greatest power. Arrogance and pride can only lead to downfall, but peace and brotherhood are the true marks of valor. And so, the tale of Ukadike and Ekwedike was passed down through generations, a story of strength, honor, and the unbreakable bond of the Umuhu Ezechi people.
Ekwedike, the great warrior, was revered, feared by foes, and a relentless shield for his people. He had hot temper. He'd single-handedly kept the village of Abiri at bay, securing victory after victory in their never-ending feud over disputed lands. So his mission as a warrior in Umuhu Ezechi was not to fight his own people. He only challenged Ukadike because he was boastful. Ekwedike's life was tinged with sorrow. Years ago, his wife and one of his twin sons had died during a bloody clash with Abiri community. Only one son, Ejima, survived. Now grown, Ejima was a mirror of his father, carrying the same powerful build and unbreakable spirit. Although he had settled in the far-off town of Ahaba, word of his resemblance to his legendary father had spread. For 7 years, Abiri's people lived in terror, knowing Ekwedike could strike at any moment. Even the mention of his name sent shivers through the bravest men, for each attempt to reclaim their lands from Umuokwe met with swift defeat at his hands. Ekwedike, after his battle with Ukadike, was won by Ejima, who fortifies him before each war, to stay away from any form of battle for the next 6 months, revealing that he sensed danger. Meanwhile, the king of Abiri land and his council grew desperate, calling for meeting upon meeting, with the agenda being on how to track down his kingdom's nightmare, Ekwedike, the big head from Umuokwe. But even they, mighty as they were, dared not utter a plan to kill him, for who could beat the giant of Umuokwe? One day, at a council meeting, a surprising figure broke the silence: Otisi, known as Nwangwuro, the crippled son of Ukadike, a fallen Abiri warrior who Ekwedike himself had slain. Otisi asked the king what reward he might receive for slaying Ekwedike. The council burst into laughter, mocking the idea of a cripple standing up to the dreaded warrior when seasoned men had failed. Yet, Otisi's resolve did not waver, and the king, seeing the persistence in his eyes, declared that whoever defeated Ekwedike would be granted the hand of Princess Adaeze. The announcement stirred disbelief, but Otisi took action. Rallying the youth of Abiri, he led them to the disputed boundary and instructed them to dig a wide deep trench, a trap concealed under a layer of leaves and branches. For 3 months, they dug tirelessly until the trench stretched long and deep, hidden just beyond the boundary. Then, Otisi invoked the spirit of his father through a war song, playing a flute whose notes echoed the melody his father had used to rally the warriors of Abiri. The haunting sound reached Ekwedike's ears, stoking a rage within him. He could not believe that anyone dared challenge him after he had slain Abiri's mightiest. Not minding the warning from Ejima. Clad in his battle gear, Ekwedike marched toward the boundary. Unaware of the danger that lay in wait, Ekwedike strode forward, passing the boundary and stepping onto what seemed like solid ground. Suddenly, the earth gave way, and he plunged into the gaping trench. Shouts of triumph filled the air, and Abiri erupted in jubilant celebration. At last, they were free from the terror that had haunted them. The villagers carried Nwangwuro on their heads, singing songs of conquest around the entire Abiri land, which went on for 8 market days, according to their tradition. That was how a hero of that nature is celebrated. After that, they filled up the trench and leveled up the ground back to normal. News of Ekwedike's death shattered Umuokwe, plunging the village into mourning. They summoned Ejima, Ekwedike's only surviving son, who raced back from Ahaba. Known as Omikanaya, the one who acts like his father, Ejima had inherited not only his father's appearance but his warrior spirit. Consumed by grief, he vowed to avenge his father and restore Umuokwe's honor. After the grand jubilation of freedom gotten from Nwangwuro's wisdom and bravery, came the fulfillment of the king's promise. But before then, the Ejima of Abiri sent a worrisome message to the king, telling him that he saw that the cloud was still heavy and darkness hovering over the people of Abiri. Therefore, no further ceremony should take place, but the villagers insisted that the promise the king made must be kept. After all, the only terror that scared them was gone forever. The king had no option than to obey his own words. On the day set for Otisi's wedding to Princess Adaeze, Abiri was alive with celebration. But Adaeze, who had no love for Otisi, refused to emerge from her chambers. As they tried to persuade her, a shadow fell over the square. The king looked up to see a towering figure in the distance, a man bearing an uncanny resemblance to Ekwedike. His blood froze. The people murmured in fear and awe, wondering if Ekwedike's ghost had returned. As Ejima strode into the square, the crowd scattered in terror. Panic overtook them. Ejima was right, but they refused to heed to the advice from spokesman for the oracle, and they fled, leaving Otisi and the king alone in the square. Otisi's hard-won victory had vanished like smoke, and the wedding was abandoned. Ejima's arrival sent a clear message to Abiri: Ekwedike might be gone, but his legacy and his bloodline remained unbroken. The people of Abiri community never dared challenge Umuokwe again.